No? Okay. All right. The science of negotiation, right? So understanding behavior to influence outcomes, right? This is very crucial. You could be doing everything right, and right when you're putting an offer, getting the listing, you could be messing everything up, right? Because you don't understand some of the key fundamentals of negotiating and understanding how can you negotiate and how can you get things that not get things that you want, get things that move the wheel forward, right? For the sellers and for us and for the buyers and for everybody else. So real estate decisions are driven by both logic and emotion, right? So let me ask you guys, have you ever been with a buyer or a seller where they're completely emotional or logical, right? Anybody? Oh, Vikram's here too. Hey, Vikram, how you doing?
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Okay, negotiation is based on either logic or emotion. Logic could be, I need this number so I can buy this house. I'm approved for this. Very logical. Emotional, my kids don't have bigger backyard. I really want them to play with my dog. We need a bigger backyard where they can run around. I feel really bad. We're living in a stacked townhouse. We don't have space, our own space, right? That's an emotional decision, right? So always have to be careful what people are trying to do, right? You can't go to a person who's logical and say, oh, it would be really nice for your kids to have a bigger backyard. Yeah, to some point they'll be happy, but that's not driving them forward. They're looking at the logic. I need 365 in order to buy that detached house and put everything down there, right? That's what is in their mind. Very crucial to understand what is going on in the seller or buyer or your client's mind, right? What is their top priority? Recognizing motivation help uncover underlying interests and concerns. Sometimes you'll meet clients, they'll say, I'm trying to find somebody who can sell my house for whatever, less commission, right? And then you ask them, what are you looking for in an agent? They say somebody who can sell it for less than four, right? You know that's their motivation. But then you have to ask them, right? Dig a little bit deeper, always. Why are you guys selling? Right? Where are you guys moving to? What's happening? This is a beautiful house. What's going on? And they'll say, we're moving to this place, right? Our house is paid off. We're taking everything because that's our retirement money, right? Then you understand they want to walk away with everything. This is what they have paid down for last 20, 30, 40 years. And now they're retiring. They need as much as possible for them, right? And then you understand their timeline that they're looking to move in September, October. They have already a house that they've bought. There's no mortgage on the other house. This is all the money that's going into their savings. So you understand what's going on into their mind, right? Strong negotiators adapt to their approach based on behavioral clues, right? So people have different personalities, right? You cannot be one person to all, right? A lot of times, I know Parth has been calling me, and I don't mind when people are growing, they're calling me, they're asking me for suggestions, how I would handle and anything. As I'm always available for that, right? And I want you guys to do that, right? You should be calling me and texting me and the office. Use the resources. Don't just say, oh, I'll figure it out. I'll chat GPT. It's not as simple as chat GPTing it. You can ask chat GPT, oh, how do I negotiate, right? Or in any kind of AI. This comes from experience. This comes from real world experience, right? It's like asking chat GPT, how do I go to war? How do I learn how to do whatever this battle with these weapons? They can't teach you. They can only give you what's on the internet, right? These things come from experience. So call me all the time. Going back, a lot of times when Parth, Ujwal, not anymore, Ujwal's doing his own thing. Parth is asking me for suggestions and things. So I'm always telling him that look, Parth, uh, people are different, right? When you meet different people, and we have to be versatile. We can't be just one person, right? You can be the most amazing person, but the person you're meeting, you have to adapt to be a little bit, kind of like them. Mirror their style, their sitting style, not, don't copy copy them and be like them. Mirror their style, your client, if they're sitting a certain way, you should be sitting a certain way, right? See what kind of person are they? Are they, the one that's thinking too about the future? Are they thinking too much about the past? Are they thinking about the numbers? Are they thinking about having control, right? And then present your presentation in that way. I always like to say when I see somebody who has a driver style, right? They want to control things, they want to call shots. So I say, look, in this case, because I'm the one with the license, that doesn't mean I'll do everything. We'll be working together as a team, right? It's like a team, soccer, cricket, football, everybody has their role, and we work together as a team to get you that price, right? And I'll give you all the power. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you say yes and no. We'll still have to work together as a team. We move forward as a team, right? So a lot of times I get clients and they feel like, oh, the guy gave me all the power, right? And I'm the one deciding what's happening. And I will say yes. But before you make that decision, we'll sit together as a team and discuss everything, then move forward, right? So that is being versatile, understanding people, and trying to see what is it that drives them forward, right? Because it's all about them, right? It's never about us or anything else. They're the ones moving, they're the ones selling their house. That's the biggest thing they own. They're the ones going through a lot of emotions. And now, emotional triggers and decision making. Buying and selling is highly, highly emotional. Unless you meet with an investor who has 100, 200 homes, they're not going to care. To them, it's just an item. They've sold, they've bought, they'll be selling, they'll be buying, right? But 90% of the people buying and selling is very, very emotional, right? You'll meet people in your journey where it's their first house, right? I remember when my parents sold their first house, first house in Canada. They were almost crying, right? And a lot of people do that. It's their first house, right? And they have a lot of, it's an emotional thing, buying your first house and selling your first house. So always remember that. It's not just something like, oh yeah, well, don't worry, we'll sell it next year. It's an emotional decision for everybody involved, except for you, like buyers and sellers. Not for us. It's not emotional for agents. So keep that in mind. So now let's look at the emotional triggers and how it can influence decision making for sellers and buyers. Fear of loss, that's big one. Back 5 years ago, COVID was, at peak. People were having this fear of losing out. So people bought, and a lot of people lost, right? That's a big, big trigger. Fear, right? Again, I don't like to use fear in my business, and I've never used fear. That's just not my tactic. But it's always wise to tell buyers or sellers that if we don't sell by this time, market's going down, there is a chance that in next 3 months we'll lose more equity. If we're getting 450 now for your condo, we may get 400 in next 3 months. Just to let you know, right? So again, this is all based on market and facts. So I don't use fear ever. I don't think that's the right thing. But sometimes you do have to show them a bigger picture than they can see, right? Now, timing, urgency, certainty can shape client responses, right? So if they have to move somewhere, bring back their biggest motivation. Oh, but Mr. Seller, you have to be there by September, so we should list now so you can get 2 to 3 months to sell your house and align your closing. That way you don't have to pay any penalties, extra fees, or any kind of problems with closing and aligning the dates, right? Urgency, right? I like to create urgency, right? Because that's how I operate. That's my favorite thing, right? So we have to tell them now, so we have to do this, 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 this. And in order to get to your endpoint, we should get started today. I always tell people, right? So that is my thing. I always create urgency. No, we have to start today, so we have more time. The sooner we start, the better it is, the more time you have, right? So that is my main thing. I always try to get things done faster, right? And create an urgency that no, we should be doing it now rather than waiting 2 months, 3 months, right? Or 5 months and then testing the market. There's no point. Let's get started now, see the market, and adjust to how the market is. And one of the main thing, you guys, I'm sure some of us already doing this, active listening helps identify what truly matters, right? Whenever you're with the buyer and the seller, especially for the first time, we should do your pitch, do your presentation, and then be quiet and listen to them, ask them questions, right? And just be a really good listener, right? They're not there to know what we're doing, how we're the best, how we can do something really cool that nobody else can do, how, I've sold 100 homes, 200 homes. No, they're there for someone who can listen to what they have to say, right? Big thing. As we progress in this business, a lot of us lose this gift and we become more of a whatever it's called, yappers. We keep saying, oh, this, and I can do this. Oh, we can do this. I can take care of that. No, listen more and talk less, especially when you're trying to meet the client, buyer, seller for the first time. Listen to what they have to say. Once you know their motivation, you know what they're trying to achieve, then you should come up with why it's wise to use you because you'll do this. That tells them that you were listening and you will be listening to them throughout the process. Okay. So big thing, active listening. I always make notes when I'm talking to buyers or sellers, and I say, look, I'm just going to write it down, or I'm on my phone and I say, I'm just making notes, not texting anyone. I'm making notes of what matters to you. That shows them how committed I am, right? I don't have to make notes. I can say, yeah, I remember, but I always make notes. Shows them how sincere someone is and how I do care about what they have to say, right? Big thing with sellers, buyers as well, but sellers, if you're doing these things, you'll get the listing. Any questions so far from anyone? All right, moving forward, negotiating with intention and strategy, right? That's all negotiations about. As buyer's agent or seller's agent, right? Negotiation starts as soon as you meet the client. It starts actually even before that, and it doesn't end there. You have to negotiate with the other agent, right? You call the other agent and say, look, I've been in the market in this industry for 50 years. I know what I'm doing. This is a good offer. You guys should take it. Most likely, the other person will not be too thrilled, right? On the other side. And then they are your kind of your door to the seller, right? So always try to uh, create a scenario and a situation where you express this at very. I always do that within the first call or text uh, that I'm making to the other agent. That hey, looking forward to working with you on this. I know we can get this deal together and help your seller and my buyer clients, right? Then they know that everybody's winning. I always set that tone. But no, you guys have to win too. I completely understand. We have to win too. You have to win too for your clients. I have to win for my clients. My clients have to win your clients, right? So it's a win-win situation. You're not saying, oh, we're going to offer you 100K under. That's not negotiation. That's lowballing, right? Or saying, I'll cut my commission. Please get the deal together. That's not real negotiation. That's you, or that's somebody being desperate. You don't want to. That's not going to get you anywhere, right? Real negotiation is where everybody walks away thinking they've won, right? And that's where everybody's happy. That's where you get the most out of a deal. The deal's not done. You're going to run into that agent again, right? If they know, hey, I've worked with this person last time, it was a good experience. I got a good price. He was good or she was good to deal with, and everything went really well, right? So you have that. Same thing with your buyers. They'll think, no, last time we bought with so and so, we got good price, we got really good results, and we were really thrilled. So let's go back to the same person, right? That's the kind of service we want, right? So it helps everybody. And trust me, when we're doing this over and over again, you're meeting with hundreds of agents and you have this win-win mindset for you and for them. They will be happy to work with you. Your life will be a lot easier, right? That's how it is. That's how the game is, right? And if we're doing it in an opposite way, let's say they remember, oh, it was so tough to deal with this person. They were not nice. They didn't firm up. They were asking mutual release. They were doing this. Your life will be tougher, right? They're going to suggest to their clients and say, look, I've dealt with this person before. This was my experience, right? So I think these guys are, I don't know how strong these guys are. Let's look at this one, which is maybe slightly less, but I've dealt with this agent before. Agent's good. It's a good agent in this area, right? Guelph, Cambridge, Kitchener. Yeah, I've dealt with them many times. If I were you, I would go with this and I would leave it up to you, right? To sellers. And sellers look into that. They really do, right? If their agent's telling them that their agent had a bad time last time with an agent, and they weren't able to fulfill conditions and things went wrong, most likely they're not going to take that offer, right? So negotiation starts as soon as you make the first call, and it actually never really ends, right? Every point of conversation is a negotiation with your seller, with the buyer, with the agent, with everybody. And one of the main things and key things that I do, and I would recommend you guys do, is create value before discussing concessions, right? A lot of people are like, I'll do it for 1%. I'll do this, right? You can tell them that, look, with my skill set, I can get you an extra 1%, right? Why don't we focus on that rather than cutting my commission? Show them value, right? We can either create value or we can be a commodity, right? Commodities, you guys know that, right? It's like buying what gold. That's the same thing, right? I can buy gold from anyone. Gold is gold, right? So you don't want to become a commodity. Lead with value, set yourself apart, and tell them how phenomenal you are, and then listen to their concerns. And of course, sometimes you have to do concessions and things. That's part of the deal. If someone's buying 2, 3 homes, you have to. But lead with value, focus on value, show them your results, testimonials, right? And what people are saying about you. A lot of times people say, yeah, you know what? I don't care that extra point, half a point, 1 point, 2 points. Just get me this number. I'm happy to pay you that, right? Use market data and facts to support confident recommendations. Again, now a lot of agents do that. I hope none of us are doing that. They just start telling stuff that's not true. So always lead with facts, because I always like to fact check people. I always say, how do you know that? Where did you find that? Who's saying that, right? So if they do that to you and you tell them, oh, every house in your neighborhood has sold for 700 or less, and you're just saying that, but they go out and see, no, my neighbor sold for 800, right? That's not a good look. Make sure you have the data. It's really easy to look at all the data and facts, and then, tell them confidently, this is what's happening in your market, right? And then they say, well, how? How do you know? I think my neighbor got this price. You say, no, your neighbor got this price, this many days on the market, this many times they relisted, and the last home before that sold for this, right? Then they know you know your business. You know what I mean? Cool. So that's it for today's session. Let's do a quick round table. Any questions on negotiation or any kind of challenges you guys are facing?
Yes, I am.
Yes, Malik.
So basically, for the negotiation, like you mentioned, that it should be a win-win situation for both sides. But every day we're seeing, obviously, considering being a buyer's market, the mentality is such a way that we want to lowball everything. So what's your take on it? Like, is it?
I always tell people, I say, look, first you have to see what kind of people they are. I just say, look, if this was your house, right? Markets, everything selling for this. You are the seller. Let's pretend you're the seller. How would you feel if I gave you 100K less? And why would you take that offer? Wouldn't that be insulting? It's your house, right? You've lived in it. Think about it in that sense, right? I always try to tell them again. You have to sometimes put them into the seller's shoes and say, let's say you're the seller. Let's flip the script. How would
Right.
you feel? This is a house you've lived in, maintained it well. All of your neighbors have sold for 650. You want to get it for 550, right? Someone comes in and says 550. Like, isn't that insulting? Right? So you can say, look, obviously you have to get a price. My job is to get you the best price. But I can do that in another way too. I can, I can pick up the seller, put him in my basement and say, hey, give us this price, or, something bad happens. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's other ways to get that thing done too. You don't want to rob someone to get a good price. You know what I mean? You don't want to kidnap someone, say, sign this paperwork for 550 instead of 650. So you all have to tell them, no, you'll get a good price, but we're not going to rob someone, right? To get you that price. So obviously, again, everybody wants to win. Not everybody wins in all the negotiations and on all the deals, but they have to feel like they've won, right? If you know what I mean. We can have a
Right.
chat about it in a separate call, but everybody has to walk away thinking they've won, but not everybody's winning, right? Obviously, there is a real winner out of everybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the atmosphere has to be where they're like, yeah, we're winning. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, this is the good, right? So the other agent, your buyer, seller, everybody has to walk away, but maybe your buyer got a really phenomenal deal,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the seller has to know through their agent that what they sold for is good because of the market, right? That's what the
Right.
negotiation is, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
means you're leading with data. You're saying, look, so and so, your property's been on the market for so long. It's really tough for my buyer to think that's the price when nobody gave you that price for 6 months, right? That's why we're coming up with this. We think it's a fair price. Show it to your clients. We're willing to work with you on closing and other things. And we're genuine buyers. We don't want to waste time, and we don't want to insult the seller. But
Right.
I'm taking the time to put in this offer, and then please review it, see what can be done. Let's see if we can get a counter or if we can work something out, right? And then people will either counter or they either think about it and say, yeah, they are right. We haven't had anything for 6 months, right? And then they take it rather than you say sending, hey, just sent you the offer,
Mm-hmm.
100,000 less, right? And
Right.
same thing with your buyers. You're in negotiation with your buyers too. You have to tell them, if that was possible, I would be a billionaire. If I could buy it, 100K less, I would buy it and I would sell it next day. So
Mm-hmm.
let's be realistic, right? You'll obviously get a good deal, but you're not going to steal or rob someone to get you a good deal, right? That you
Right.
have to call mafia, right? If that's what you want to do. I'm not your guy. I'm a realtor. So just tell them. And you have to keep resetting their brain too. You have to say, look, it's already a good deal if you look at 5 years, right? You'll get a good deal, but don't stretch it to a point where you lose out in next year or so, and then prices are up, and then you'll think, oh, this happened, right? Always have a backup story. I have real life stories. If you guys don't have it, always have a backup story, right? That opens up people's mind more. Always say I had a client who did the same thing, and then he was out of the market, and now he can't buy anything, right? Let's say that. Always have these stories. You can say, yeah, I had a client like that before COVID. He wanted to buy, and he kept looking when the market was low. He never bought anything. Then the market went up, and he bought something in the up market from someone, and now he lost everything, and now he's renting. So my job is to guide you and to help you make a reasonable decision, right? And you can tell him, you can say it's not casino. You can't, win. It's not luck. You can't put a number and be like, yes, we got it. No, right? We have to be reasonable, put an offer. Obviously, it will be very aggressive, but it won't be something insulting to the seller, right?
Right.
Okay. I hope that helps.
Right,
Right.
of course. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Malik. Anybody else, any questions about negotiation or any kind of story they'd like to share? No?
How you doing?
Hey, Baz, good. How are you doing?
Good. I just one of the agents earlier, I don't remember who was it, brought up the idea of a lowball offer and what you thought of lowball offers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm working with a couple buyers right now, and it's a market where that conversation definitely does come up. But what I would say to people is just, you risk losing the place too, because when you put a lowball offer, you could get a deal potentially, or you could get them to come down significantly. But you could also offend them if it's too low. And then once you offend them, it gets hard to make a deal after that. So what I would say is, if you're going to lowball, don't be attached to the place emotionally, because you might
Yeah.
not, you could sour the negotiations going forward. And I've seen that happen. So I've seen it happen before, where somebody came in too low and the seller got their hackles up. They didn't like it, and they didn't do a deal because of that. And they even came up after, and they came up to a higher price point, but they still didn't want them because they offended them the first time.
Yeah. I know that happens all the time. It's true.
So that was my only point there that I wanted to raise. But yeah, just working, like I said, working with a couple buyers right now. So yeah, that's it. And yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes sellers say, no, I don't want to sell it to them, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
if they're lowballing, like Baz mentioned, they have to be ready to let go of the property, because the
Right.
seller may never work with them, right?
Yeah.
Even after
No.
coming up higher.
Right. Yeah. No. Thanks, Baz. Thanks for the advice.
Perfect. All right. I think we covered everybody, and some of the people are in and out. Cool. So I'll see you guys next week. And Saturday we have that thing. If you're free, join it. It's more open, right? Just have any questions, show up, right? Other than that, I will be at Guelph office today. I can see you at Guelph office, and tomorrow at Kitchener. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.